Everyday people working 9 to 5, saving up that money, trying to survive, investing in the future, trying to be wise. We're gonna be money heroes. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Nik Johnson, host of Everyday Money Heroes, and I've reached early retirement. I'm here to provide information on how to obtain financial independence and inspire you through sharing stories of everyday people who are turning knowledge into freedom.
That hustle, always reaching for the sky. We're gonna be money heroes, never gonna shy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyday Money Heroes. My name is Nik Johnson. I'm your host. And of course, here at Everyday Money Heroes, our goal is to provide information and inspiration to people of all ages to empower them to take control of their financial journey. And today we have a very special guest. We have Tiffany Lawrence. A little bit about Tiffany. She's an individual whose life and work embodies resilience, determination, and profound passion for empowering others to achieve financial freedom. Tiffany is not only a mom, but a self made financial strategist dedicated to helping others take control of their wealth and build their lives, the dreams of their life. Born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, Tiffany grew up witnessing the tireless efforts of her single mother and experience that instilled in her the values of hard work and perseverance. Armed with a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Georgia and an MBA from Keller Graduate School of Management, Tiffany has navigated a remarkable professional journey, strategically increasing her income by an average of 25% with each career move. Along the way, she has also tackled significant financial challenges, including reducing her student loan debt from nearly $200,000 to under $65,000, paying off $16,000 in consumer debt in a single year, and repairing her credit to achieve home ownership. But Tiffany's story is more than just numbers. Currently, she equips others to cultivate positive money habits and build generational wealth. As someone who has faced ups and downs, Tiffany is living proof that challenges can lead to triumph. Join me as we dive into Tiffany Lawrence's inspiring journey, her insight into financial growth, and how her vision for helping others rewrite their financial stories. Hello, Miss Tiffany.
Hello, how are you?
That's not good. That's the kind of life I want. So thank you so much for being here. It is great to have you here. So you are from Atlanta, Georgia,
Yes.
born and raised.
Um,
So yes, please.
no, go ahead. I was gonna say the A because
It is.
it's a great place.
It is the A. And the thing about it is so great that anybody who live in Georgia want to say they're from Atlanta. They can be from Powder Springs, from Marietta, Culver.
Correct,
Matter.
correct.
Everybody say they're Atlanta. I'm like, go ahead and represent where you from. That's okay. That's
Well,
fine.
well, I was born in Atlanta proper. I actually was born in Southwest Hospital, which is no longer there anymore. Actually, that's how old I am. But it's really Atlanta. I'm not a suburb girl.
Okay, I got you. Sorry, you from the heart.
Yes.
I got you. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. And as I mentioned, our goal here is to inspire individuals to know that, you can do anything if you really put your mind to it. And this being the beginning of the year, we really want to have the proper mind state and understand what we can do with what we have. Everyone will have more. Some people might have less. We all got something. And the thing is that we want to be very specific with what we do with it. So when we talk about your story, let's kind of start from the beginning because with us being Everyday Money Heroes, I always like to talk about origins. And one of the things you made mention of is watching your mother work two jobs to provide for you. How did that early experience shape your vision for money, and how can others draw inspiration from their personal experiences to create a financial plan?
I would say first it really shaped watching my mother really shaped my money psychology. And as I've learned more about this topic, I realize how important that has been for me. And most importantly, it really, and not necessarily I was in a positive way, it really made me think of money as security. And so that kind of predicated all the decisions that I made later in my life. And so I would say it made me focus harder because although my mother provided a great life for me, I felt like she was always working so hard. And so in my brain, I really was like, okay, how do I provide for my family in the same way that she did, but not feel like I'm pulled away from my family as much as she was. So it really shaped the choices that I made, in the sense of what career I chose. It even changed how I function in my marriage. Like there were times when we were struggling financially, and he would be like, "Well, I'm gonna go get a second job." And for me, I saw second job as, oh my God, pulling away from my family, right? And so it changed what I was okay with, in our relationship, because I was so scared he would be gone all the time while we were raising our family. And so it kind of just shaped everything. But at the same time, my mother's resilience and the fact that she was able to do all the things that she did for us, like, she put me through school. I can't ever remember wanting for anything. I wasn't raised in a place where the lights were being cut off, because she was making those things happen. And I still had amazing life experiences with my mother. And it was all because she was willing to do the hard work to help us get there.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tiffany. I know one of the things you mentioned as far as you equated money to security. And oftentimes you may mention to your marriage, and a lot of times we think about physical security, that, we want to make sure that, our wives or husbands or, protected, our kids are protected. But there's also that financial security. And I think oftentimes if you don't have, if there's concerns that you don't know what's going to happen the next day, will the car that was there when you went to sleep last night, if it'll be there when you wake up in the morning, or, if the utilities will be off and things like that, that is something that can undermine the security that you have. So it's a great point. So you looked at the sacrifices that your mom made and working multiple jobs, saying, hey, you know what? It's inspirational, but at the same time, I understand that it's important for me to get this money thing right so that I can not be away from the ones that I love.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So in kind of reading about you, Tiffany, I saw that you increased your income by 140%. And that is extremely impressive. Now, it took you 4 career moves to do that. And so what actionable steps can individuals do to identify opportunities for similar growth in their careers? Because I'll tell you this much, one of the things I experienced when I was in my job, I felt like I stayed at my employer too long. I felt as though that, I originally, when I went there, I had a 5-year plan. That's my goal. I was going to go there for 5 years. I was going to get some experience. I had just earned my degree in computer programming. I was going to go there and get that experience. Then I was going to go someplace else. But unfortunately, what happened is that I enjoyed my job. And then I started enjoying the people. So even though as the years went on, it'd be time for increases. Like, hey, here's 3%, here's 2.5. And, I kind of hung out there because I enjoyed it. But at the same time is that, as we're getting, and this is the hard thing to think about, and I definitely want to get your input on this, Tiffany. As we sit there and we get maybe 3% increases. Well, when inflation goes up 3%,
it wasn't a raise.
It wasn't a raise. And then we had these anomalies. We had a few years ago, we had inflation at 8-9%. And then you get that same 2-3% increase, you're in the hole. So what you really have to think about is that, I realized that I stayed there too long. After 5 years, if I didn't get any substantial increases or movement within my organization, I needed to go someplace else so that I can go ahead and kind of keep up with the cost of living. So that's kind of my personal experience. What are your thoughts there on that, Tiffany? How did you navigate your moves to increase your income?
So I would absolutely agree with what you said. The first thing is having the mindset that it's okay to move. Because I think when you're younger, especially in the generation that I'm in, you were kind of taught, you get a job, you stay at a job forever. And I believe those days are done, right? And so you kind of got to know that I'm not really staying anywhere forever. And then next, remove the fear around that. Because what I found when people ask me about, oh, Tiffany, you got another job or you changed or this or that, they said, God, I wish I could do what you do. And a lot of times when I talk through it with them, it's because they're scared to move. And so I would say have the mindset that it's okay to move, but also be okay that you have the fear. And you've heard what people say, sometimes you have to do it scared. And so you have to be able to move through the fear and know that on the other side is going to be a positive result. Because I have found that when I stay at a job, I do only get 2 or 3%. And I work in education. So sometimes that's even less. Sometimes they don't even give us a raise. I've had years where they don't give us a raise. And so that's huge. And so you have that. And then the other thing is, for me, is knowing your dream and your vision and what abundance looks like for you. Because I think as you start to plan that out, you start to say, wait a minute, this is possible. This is what I want. It becomes tangible. And then related to that, that needs to be connected to what you value. So like for me, I value being with my daughter a lot because, you know, like I said, my mom really played a part in how I function in my life. I wanted to be home every day. And that meant at a certain point in my life, I wanted to be a stay at home. At another point, I just want to be off by the time she kind of got home from school so I could help with homework and take her to dance and all the things. And so one of the reasons that I stayed in education was because I knew I was going to be off work at a certain time every day. Like it's not like corporate where now I do work late because as I progress, my responsibilities have gotten higher. But in the beginning, I got off work at like maybe 3 o'clock. I literally could go home, cook dinner, go pick her up from daycare or the little old lady that she was staying with, come home. We could have a whole family dinner. It was a cool life for her. She didn't know me to not be there when she needed. And any event they had in school, I could go to because I was an educator. So they just assumed you're going to be a parent and they knew that was important. So I didn't have to fight, you know, those battles. And then the other thing I'll say is just be ready for opportunity. I think you always have to be prepared. So like people ask me, like, how often do you update your resume? I update my resume pretty regularly, like probably every 6 months or so, I look at my resume. And that's because in your daily life of your job, you're probably doing something that you should put on your resume, whether it's being in charge of a project, or maybe you, I don't know, helps develop a strategic plan and you want to put that in your resume because you never know what career field you're going to go to next and how those skills are going to transition somewhere else. So then when a job happens, I'm ready to move, right? And part of that also is you got to look. I know people say, I'm not always looking for a job. And I look for jobs so much that I have friends that call me and say, Tiffany, what's open right now? Because I'm thinking I'm going to leave. And I'm not even really looking for a job for myself all the time. I'm just kind of seeing what's, you know, keeping my ear to the ground and say, okay, because, you know, you might have that one opportunity that comes open and you know why you didn't get it because you didn't apply, and you didn't apply because you didn't know it was there. And so I would say those things.
Yeah, you make some great points there, Tiffany. And also, as you look for shifting opportunities, it actually, at the end of the day, it makes you more marketable. Because when you work at one place for a certain amount of time, you learn how to do things a particular way. And when you get that opportunity to go someplace else, you see how they do things, and it actually makes you more marketable for that next opportunity, or more valuable to that employer. I mean, being in the computer field, sometimes you might go to some place and they might just use a specific technology. But the thing is that I might get really good at technology, but it kind of pigeonholes me from being able to go someplace else that doesn't have that same technology. So it's really important to make yourself a well-rounded individual, and it will allow you the ammunition to be able to demand more to get more money. You know, so
correct. And I'll say something about that. I applied for a job. This was years ago, and when I first started kind of moving through the job thing, because I had been conditioned to think that it wasn't okay to move, I was hesitant to say all my job history, right? So, but I applied for this job, I got the job. And after the fact, the lady who interviewed me, because she hired me, she pulled me to the side and she said, Tiffany, how come in the interview you didn't talk about, and she listed like some of the other things off my resume. And I said, well, I wasn't trying to look like I was job hopping, right? And you know what she said to me? She said, Tiffany, the reason I hired you is because you've had so many experiences. So just to piggyback off what you said is that she saw value in that. And what was cool about it is after she had that conversation with me, I never go into a job interviewing now apologizing for my movement, if that makes sense. But before I saw it as a shame place, now I see it as an empowering place because you're right. Every district I worked in had a different computer system or a different financial system. And so now I know how to work all of those. And so that makes me more marketable, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. One other thing I will say on that is that I had a friend of mine at work, and he would apply for a job. And I've never seen this happen to an individual before. He would go look for jobs. He would get an offer letter, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I just got offered, X number of thousands of dollars over here. Can y'all match this?" They'll match it. And that probably happened 3 or 4 times with this guy. And I mean, he was a solid contributor, but since he was getting ready to leave, even going out looking, even if you don't necessarily leave, that offer letter gives you power. as well. So you can go
Correct.
ahead, you can put that on your leader's desk. Say, hey, you know what? I'm getting ready to go. So unless you can give me this or give me some benefits that's comparable to this, I'll have to leave. And so that's also a benefit of actually going around looking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right. So we understand that, we need to go out there. We need to be looking, not necessarily get tied down to one specific employer. That we need to go out there and constantly look to increase our income so that we can go ahead and take that money that we are creating and do things like paying off debt and everything else. So mentioning debt, Tiffany, you paid down nearly $1,300. I'm sorry, not 1,300. I'm sure you wish it was 1,300, right? $130,000 in student loans and $16,000 in consumer debt. That's no small feat. What specific strategies did you use to stay disciplined, and how can others develop habits to tackle debt effectively?
So I want to be transparent because I'm an educator. So you
Okay.
hear a lot of people talk about public servant loan forgiveness. So a
Mhm.
big part of how my debt has decreased tremendously in the recent years is that I am a public servant. And so I have
Okay.
always been paying in the second part of my life, I've been paying the majority of my student loan, like the monthly payment. But as I've been in education 20 years, almost right under 20 years, I'm at the place now where my forgiveness has kicked in. And
Ah,
so
okay.
I've had the opportunity where periodically, to be honest, they actually send me a letter and they'll say, hey, you've hit this many payments. And they have forgiven a good chunk of my debt. And actually, I just got another letter, let me see, December 31st. And
Okay.
I was like, oh, I got another forgiveness. I'm feeling pretty good about that. So that's one thing. And I'll say being consistent as an educator. Now, I want to make sure I bring to the attention that if you do that, remember that you are committing to education for 10 years. And that's a long time. And so there
Mhm.
are pros and cons with that. For me, it was okay because, like I said before, I saw the benefit of being available to my kids.
Okay.
But if you don't want to be committed to a job that long, then public servant loan forgiveness would not be the option for you. But for me, that was a quality option, right?
Okay. Mhm.
Go ahead. As far
So
as the
yeah,
consumer, go ahead.
I want to get to consumer piece, but I,
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask this question: is it possible that, I know at one point we kind of talked about the importance of kind of moving around, but also
Mm-hmm.
you made reference to like the loan forgiveness. But it seems like as long as you say, you in your situation, as long as you stay in the education space, you didn't have to stay at the same school. Is that correct?
Correct. And let
Okay.
me talk about that because that's important to even my salary projection. So I was strategic in where I worked. So there were a couple things that matter in education. So you pay into Social Security in some districts, and some districts you do not. So I've
Mm,
strategically worked in both. So that way, when I retire, not only will I get a pension from education, but I also get Social Security. And not all educators can
mm,
say that. So that's one
okay.
thing. Then the other thing is I have been strategic in what districts I work for. So there are some districts that don't pay well, but there are other districts that pay really well, depending on
Mm,
your position. So you have to also look at the salary chart and say, okay, do I want to be in the lowest paying district or do I want to be in the highest? And with the pension, the way it works is they look at your highest in Georgia. So they look at your highest 2 consecutive years of salary, and that is how they determine what you get for your pension. So as I enter the end of my career, I have strategically placed myself at the highest paying school district so I can have the highest pension. So it's not
mm,
just about raising the salary, it's about being strategic and where you want to end up in the very end. And I could actually work 2 years at the highest paying district, then go back to the district that maybe I love because I might have just loved the people, and it wouldn't
okay.
matter and my pension wouldn't change. And so it's like you said, as long as you stay in the state of Georgia, you just stay in the education realm, it all counts. And then also there are other things like you could be like a nurse, firefighter, there are a lot military. So there are
Mhm.
other avenues where it still would all count if you wanted to just stay on the public servant. It doesn't have to necessarily be in like the public school building. It could be a nonprofit that counts too.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I definitely want to talk about the consumer aspect that you may mention, but it seems like you were very intentional. So it's important for us to be intentional with what we're doing. You're intentional saying, okay, I need to work these 2 years in this particular area that has the higher salary because I know down the road this is going to benefit me when I get ready to get my pension. So an individual who is not very intentional and say one day they get upset and they get mad and just kind of take off and leave. I understand. I'm not to say that it might not necessarily be a valid reason why you decide to leave your job, but we have to be intentional with what we do. So we have to sometimes, we have to say, okay, how can I intentionally exit this place and still put myself in the best situation. So yes, ma'am. Thank
Correct.
you for that. Okay. So in regards to consumer debt, how did you tackle that?
So I'm a budget fanatic. I'm the
Okay.
person that say, with Dave Ramsey, I'm the nerd.
No,
So
you're welcomed here.
I
You're welcomed.
thank you, because I have a lot of people that don't like to hear me coming. So I am a real budgeter. I believe in every dollar. Um, I started this journey for myself with Dave Ramsey. Now, as you learn more, you kind of maybe morph away from him because you start to realize some other things that you value. But in the beginning, I was Dave Ramsey strong. So I looked at my budget before the month start. I had spreadsheets. I would rework a spreadsheet, but by the first of the month, I knew exactly who was going to be paid, and almost every bill in my budget is automatic draft. And I think that's really
Mm-hmm.
key too. And so that gave me the freedom so that if there was something left at the end, then that was free for me. And then I also did the snowball, which is where you
Okay.
pay off the smaller amount and move up. And so I did that in the beginning as well. And so that has benefited me. And it was basically just also looking at what do I not need? And so that goes back to the beginning when I talked about like your values, like what's
Mm-hmm.
important to you. I recently spoke to a group of teenagers about financial literacy because sometimes people will ask me to do that. And one of the things I told them, I said, think about what you care about. One of the young ladies had on like a really cute pair of tennis shoes, right? Probably cost $200 easy. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, and then another young lady, she had lashes, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
you have to say, okay, do I value lashes? Because lashes could run like $200, right? Those tennis shoes
Oh
are
my.
$200. Could you really go to like, and get a pair of like at the what is it, rack room and get you a pair of shoes for $50 and then take the
Mm-hmm.
other 150 and pay towards your debt? So I would make those kind of choices. I had at one point we had I've had times in my life where I didn't have cable. I've had times in my life where I had a side hustle. I bake. I went to culinary school. So
Oh.
people they like cake. And so for
Mm-hmm.
a long time I was doing extra things on the side to make money to put toward my debt because it's either an income problem or an expense problem. So once I cut everything down to the bare minimum, I had to say, okay, how am I going to make more money so I can put a bigger dent quicker? And that's what we did. And he and
Okay.
I at the time were doing extra things to make extra money. Like he used to coach, and so they would pay him for different things. He even refed it before where they would pay him to come ref a game. So like things
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good point, Tiffany. Sometimes, if we're not able to increase our income at our primary employer, there are side hustles that we can do. Then also the easiest thing that we can do is reduce our spending. There
Correct.
is that is the biggest impact that we can make, and we can just really make the determination that what I'm going to identify what I value the most, and not worry about anything else. That's easy because for me, I was having dinner with somebody recently, and I made a statement that I had on some jeans from a big box store. Okay, I won't say the name. They're like, "What? You wear jeans from them?" Like, first of all, you would have not noticed unless I said something. And then number two, I don't value. I'm like, as long as they're like don't have holes in them, I'm cool. I don't care. I hear people say, like stuff like True Religion. Like, what's that? It's like, I was like, what's that kind of stuff? I'm like, I have no idea. But I don't know. I'm back when we used to do Levi's and stuff like that. But I don't really, I don't value that. But what I do value, I value my time with my family, and I value traveling. So those are the two
Mhm.
things that at the end of the day that we focus on as a family because fortunately we kind of have a common belief here in our value system here. And we all value traveling and experiences. So that's definitely what you want to do in that particular instance. So when we go ahead and think about really having a purpose driven, intentional financial journey. You've had some challenges, Tiffany, but you're still doing what's needed to inspire other people to generate wealth for themselves and for their families. So, what are the 3 steps that you would recommend for someone just starting out about long term kind of wealth creation? What 3 things would you advise them
Um, it goes back to what I talked about before. I first think you need to just dream about it
to do?
and write it down because I think people think, about I can't do it, or they think it's not possible. if that makes sense. Like I took a class one time and the lady was saying that she has an abundance number, and her abundance number was her writing down everything that she wanted her life to look like. What was that? A cleaning lady. She said she didn't want to cook. She didn't want to drive, so she wanted
Oh,
a
wow.
driver. Like all the things, right? She was getting help in a lot of different areas in her life. But people say that, but they say, oh, I could never have a housekeeper. I could never have a driver. But how do you know? If you haven't dreamed it, and if you haven't looked into what does that really require of you, because maybe it's not as expensive as you think. I actually have a cleaning lady. I've had a cleaning lady since I started having kids, and I'll have to tell you, it's worth every penny. Now, there are times when I cut it out because maybe I'm trying to focus on something financially, like paying off debt. But as a mom who works, it's a lot. And sometimes you feel like, wait a minute, I just need help, And so what does that look like? And how can I attain that? And so when you get that actual number, you start realizing, wait, it's not as bad as I thought. And so now you can say, okay, now I have the dream. Let me make a plan. And for me, the plan is the budget. And so that's the next thing. And people see budgets as like a shackle or restrictions, but it's not. Like I said before, once I did the budget, at the end of the budget, hopefully there's a gap, right? And that gap allows me freedom. And so my goal is to get a budget that gets me to a place to where I can allocate the space, like you said, for travel. I'm at a point in my life where I'm 40 plus. And so travel has become super important to me because my baby is about to leave the nest. I'm so excited.
Oh, wow.
And that frees up mommy to do a whole lot of things that I couldn't do before. And so recently I turned 40. I want to say 40 plus. I'm not going to say how old I turned. But I celebrated I went to Portugal. And nice. And that was a true budget. It was like, okay, how much does it cost? What hotels can I stay in? What experience do I want? I had it written out. I had a budget of like where we're going to travel. You ride the train there. What does that cost? I had a whole plan. I started that plan 2 years out, and I budgeted for it in advance, even right down to notifying, because, you have friends that say, oh, I want to go. And so to let everybody know, oh, yeah, let me tell you how many people went. One. Okay. Yeah, exactly. I had like 10 people. But, that's to each his own, because I told them, look, I'm booking my ticket tomorrow, whether you're ready or not. So that's what it's going to be. So for me, I'm valuing travel more in my life too, because I didn't allow myself to do those things because I was trying to put being a mom first. And then the other thing is just making sure that you understand that you have options, and just to start doing something so that you can get closer, because you hesitate. So I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it this. And then when you start, if you fall off, it's okay. Just start again.
Yeah.
That's okay. Forgive yourself and start again.
Yeah. You have to just do something. It's almost like I'm horrible. Like my garage, for the longest time, I've been wanting to actually put a car in my garage. I can't do it. Because literally, it's like when we moved from our last house and moved to this house, it's like we took the whole last house, all 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and dumped it in the garage and like came here. So I'm like, man, I was like, I really want to be able to get my car in there. So literally, what I'll do is like, even if I walk through the garage, I'm like, okay, either this going into the trash or to the giveaway box. Like, I got to do something. I'm like, if I'm consistent at doing that, every time I go through there, at some point I look like, oh, look, I think I can get a car in here. And so literally, you have to have that consistency and just do something. So I completely agree with you, Tiffany. So I know that you have worn many hats, Tiffany. You've been a stay-at-home mom. You said you've been an entrepreneur, employee. How do you advise others in just balancing pursuing their dreams, along with maintaining their financial stability, and also I'm going to throw in as far as making sure that your home life is in check as well? How would you suggest individuals do
that? First, let me start. I was looking at an Instagram post on Michelle Obama, and she said something that hit me. She said, "You can't have it all." So let's start there. Okay. I've tried to have it all. Like, I can't do it all. Like I said, sometimes you need to ask for help and accept help. I'm type A. So that means that I want to be in control of everything. And so it has taken me this long to figure out that it's okay to ask for help and that's reasonable. I would also say that you need to choose the right career, right? Because you want to be happy, mentally, but you also want to have the salary that's going to give you the life that you value. For me, it was big on choosing the right mate. I am divorced now, but after that, I have realized how important it would have been to choose the mate that had the same vision as you, because that will change everything when it comes to your finances. And then I keep talking about values, because that is huge. And so when you talk about trying to do everything, you have to decide like what you're going to say no to, right? And if it does not, like with my daughter, I recognize that I have a limited time with her. And so that means that I'm not going to choose that many things that pull me completely away from her. I need that to be balanced. And so that is what I would say. I don't know if you can have it all. I think you just have to know your values and make sure you choose the things around you that align with them. And if that's financial, like when I was younger, I knew I wanted to make six figures. I knew that. Like that was clear. Because in my brain, I thought six figures was going to be like, you kind of think you're going to be rich, if that makes sense. Just so you know you're not. But what I will tell you, and I used to tell my sister, because I have a baby sister, and my nieces, I tell them what a good salary will give you. It will give you options and choices that other people don't have, even right down to if you are in debt, if you have a bigger shovel to get yourself out, it's faster. Not that you can't do it on a lower salary. You can, absolutely, because I started making like $33,000. I get it. But what I'm saying is you have to just think about all those things when you make the choices in your life, and your values should drive all of your choices.
Yeah. You made mention of just kind of looking at some things. And I think I use a term that sometimes, you have to focus on the big rocks. What are the biggest things that you can do, that you have time to do, that can get you the furthest distance? And so maybe it's like, hey, you know what, this extra time that I have, maybe I'm going to just Uber on the side, because I know it's going to allow me to just generate some additional money to pay off some bills, versus, hey, in the afternoon, choosing something that isn't going to generate revenue. It actually could be a liability, as far as you could spend the afternoon going to dinner with your friends. That's actually a liability, because you're not helping your bottom line at that particular point. So you really have to focus and prioritize what you want to do. So I completely align with you on that. Tiffany, I think I'll get you out of here on this last question. I've heard you refer to having a beautiful oops life. And so I guess my question is, are you okay with sharing some of those oops with us? But also, how can embracing setbacks and imperfection help someone refocus their financial vision and move forward?
So I'll share some oops.
Okay.
So my $198,000 in student loans was a oops, a big
Oh,
oops. Deferring payments when I made a much lower salary, because you make more, you pay more.
okay.
My very first house I bought at the top of the market, right before the market crashed. So I had to short
Okay.
sell a house. That was a big oops. Getting into credit card debt, not making sure that my spouse and I were on the same page. And that can grow, just so people know. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they start there, but you can grow together. So I don't want people to think you can't come together in a relationship. You absolutely can. Another, I would say not a oops, but a tragedy for me is I lost a child at one point. And then I would also say, as you move through your career, I've made the mistake sometimes where I've burned bridges and had to go back across them, right? They always say you don't burn any bridges. And then you have to go back and be humble and be like, yeah. And so like I would say, because like I said, I don't know if you say I'm a talker. And I was raised to be strong, independent. And so that means that I'm going to tell you what I think when I think it.
Right.
And as you get older, you recognize that sometimes it's okay to be quiet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so those are some of the things, like, as I look back through my career and my life, I'm like, okay, these are the things that I could do different. So I would say those are some of my oops. As far as embracing those setbacks, um, I use those things to ignite kind of my passion, like my financial troubles and woes, and feeling kind of bad about the $198,000 in student loan debt and the credit card debt and short selling on the house, having to rebuild my credit. Those things make me learn more about financial stuff. And so as I learned more and kind of got on fire with Dave Ramsey, and I started to teach people around me and become kind of like the resource for my friends and family, that has empowered me to really enjoy what I do now. Like, I still have, like they say, like my 9 to 5, but I also have this financial thing, and it has been absolutely amazing. I have gotten to meet people like you. Like, I'll tell people I met Nik at FinCon, and I will tell you it was the most amazing experience for me. And then I also have been able to, like, go back to school. I went back to school to become a certified financial planner. I listen to podcasts. I've met podcast hosts. I have been with other people who have the same passion as me, where we're on the same page, being accountability partners for each other. So I would say I've taken, like, those bad things, and it's become like this part of my life that has really made me really happy. And so it taught me that you can recover, start over, and be, I would say, ignited to something that's going to be really great for you. And so that would say, I would say, just be open to that. It's not over. You're just changing and growing.
All right. I think that is a great, great sentiment there, Tiffany. Also, it's great meeting you as well. I really want to say, but one thing I will say, Tiffany, is that one of the things I used to say during my career, I was a people leader, so I was a manager of heads of people. And what I would tell the individuals that reported to me is that, like, I don't have an issue with you doing something wrong. My problem is if we don't learn from it, because if we don't learn from it, we'll do it again. So if you do something and you realize, you know what, that really wasn't the best thing for me to do, or not the best thing to do. All right, let's not do that again. Okay, let's learn from it, and keep moving forward. Let's not do that again. So that is it. So Tiffany, I appreciate you so much for coming here. It was a great meeting. Like I said, we met at FinCon a few months ago when it was in your fair city. So it was really great to meet you there. Thank you for giving us some of your time. For the listeners who want to continue to, follow your journey as you're empowering other people, what's the best way for individuals to reach out and connect with you?
So my Instagram is finance.for.her. And then my website is financeforher.com. And so there's a way to message me and also schedule a time to talk with me on either platform. There should be a link.
Okay, great. And I'll make sure to put that information down in the description. Also, Tiffany gave us a lot of nuggets here. So definitely down in the comments, what action items are you going to take to go ahead and embrace this year and get your financial journey going in the direction that you'd like for it to go? So with that being said, I'm Nik Johnson. I would ask that you would like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We ask that you would just kind of share the good news of Everyday Money Heroes, because our goal, like I said before, is to provide information and inspiration and share the stories of great people like Tiffany here. As always, take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.